Passing beloved video game franchises over to other developers is always a great risk, as in most cases, the games made by the new companies either turn out to be bad or just not up to par with their predecessors. On rare occasions, they actually manage to exceed the originals, but even then, many veteran fans will have mixed opinions on them. I've decided to count down my top 5 favorite video game franchise installments that weren't handled by their original developers. Boy, what a lengthy title that is, and while most of them aren't of such high quality, all of them are decent enough to make the cut. I haven't seen anyone on YouTube make a countdown for this topic, so I thought I'd fill in the empty gap and deliver an original idea to the page. That being said, I haven't played many games that can actually qualify for this list, thus this list including only 5 games instead of 10. If I leave out any games that you thought would be a nice fit for this list, then I most likely haven't played them, but don't hesitate to tell me what games you would include in your own countdown for this particular topic. I have a few specific rules that determines if a game qualifies for the list or not. It obviously has to be a game from an already established series that has been created by another game developer than the one who invented the IP. I must also have played at least one game in a series made by its original creators, as well as one game from another developer who worked on that same series. For example, if I played Daxter made by Ready at Dawn, but not any of the Jak and Daxter games made by Naughty Dog, I can't put Daxter on the list.
What?
That was a lot of information and I might have worded it terribly, but I think you get the idea. With all that out of the way, let's begin this countdown.
So, we meet again, little dragon. I'm back, and I'm stronger than ever.
It wasn't until very recently that I played the original Spyro games made by Insomniac Games, but I had already played another game from the series at a much younger age. That game being Spyro: A Hero's Tale made by Traveller's Tales and Eurocom. From what I played of it, it's quite similar to the other Spyro games, but it adapts the multiple character aspect that was only found in the third game, Year of the Dragon. To this day, I still haven't finished it and I didn't even get very far into it. I got stuck all the time, and since I wasn't invested in the game, I never bothered to search for solutions online. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate this game and it's actually pretty decent for a Spyro game, but I'm just not motivated enough to play through it. Even so, it's good enough to deserve a spot on this list.
I'm back, and I'm stronger than ever.
Much like the case with the Spyro series, my history with the Crash Bandicoot franchise is quite similar, as I played the Wrath of Cortex before the originals made by Naughty Dog, which I got into recently. I had a more enjoyable time with this game than with A Hero's Tale. Not quite sure why, but I guess the gameplay just resonated with me more. It's a lot like the other Crash games, but it feels different in terms of the level design, and it does add a few more elements to the series, such as the rolling ball minigame and an entirely new main antagonist. While this game was somewhat fun, it's not something I want to revisit, but it was fine for what it was. By the way, I haven't mentioned its developers yet. It was made by the same company who developed the previous entry on my list, Spyro: A Hero's Tale. This is a little odd since these two franchises were competing and compared back in the day, and since my history with each of them are nearly identical, it makes the case even weirder. Is this coincidental or fate?
I'm back, and I'm stronger than ever.
When you think about Ratchet and Clank games not made by Insomniac, the first games that come to mind are Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank, both made by High Impact Games. However, I'm not including either of them on my list as I didn't enjoy Size Matters that much and I haven't even played Secret Agent Clank, mostly because of my disappointment with the former game. I'm instead choosing a much less significant game from the series that barely anyone has ever played or heard about. The game was created by the cleverly called Handheld Games and was given the equally as clever title, Ratchet and Clank Going Mobile. Playable on, well, mobile phones obviously. While I haven't played this game in well over a decade, I can without a doubt say that it's better than Size Matters, at least better than the dreaded PS2 version of the game I played. Ugh. This game differentiates heavily from the other RNC games since it's the only game in the series entirely set in a 2D format. It's also quite short in terms of length. Then again, I guess that's nothing new at this point. This game was actually really good, even for a mobile game, and I might go as far as to say that it's the best phone game of all time. I know that's not really saying much, but it's an accomplishment nonetheless.
I'm back, and I'm stronger than ever.
From here on out, the rest of the games are spectacular. I know that means there are only 2 games on this list that I truly cherish, but at least they exist. Masahiro Sakurai was the idea guy behind the Super Smash Bros. Series, and if you watched my previous countdown, you already know how much I love that franchise. Super Smash Bros. Was developed by HAL Laboratory, until they released Brawl in 2008. Sakurai eventually formed his own gaming company named Sora Inc. Sora Inc. along with Bandai Namco developed the new Super Smash Bros. Game for the 3DS and Wii U, and both of them are included on my list, since you can't really have one without the other. While I prefer Brawl over these games, they're still magnificent and fun as hell. Besides, they did improve on a few shortcomings that Brawl had. The gameplay has been smoothened to control almost perfectly, and they removed some unnecessary features from Brawl, such as the annoying tripping mechanic. The game overall isn't very different from Brawl, aside from a few additional modes, though it unfortunately doesn't include a story mode, which I feel is a missed opportunity since I really enjoy the one from Brawl. That being said, the improvements are definitely welcome, and I'm glad the series continued, even after Sakurai left HAL Laboratory.
I'm back, and I'm stronger than ever!
The Sly Cooper series is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, and I was thrilled when I found out another installment was on its way. While I knew it wasn't going to be made by the IP's inventor Sucker Punch, I was still very optimistic about it, especially since my younger self didn't care about quality as opposed to enjoyability. Because of that, I was very satisfied with how Sly Cooper Thieves in Time turned out, and I thought their new developer Sanzaru Games did an excellent job, to the point where they became my 5th favorite gaming company. Though unfortunately, they have since wasted their potential on mediocre games that nobody wants to play. Believe it or not, but Sly 4 is actually my favorite game in the series. There are almost no annoying missions to be found, and the gameplay is some of the most fun I've ever experienced. Plus the soundtrack and visuals are really nice too. The main problems with this game lay within the writing, but I'm willing to overlook that. This is not an objective review after all. I admit that Sly 1 and 2 are significantly better, especially Band of Thieves, but I just enjoy the feel of Thieves in Time the most. It definitely feels like a Sly game and not much has changed, but it does have some really neat additions brought to the table, such as useful power-ups, more collectibles, and Sly's charming ancestors. I really hope Sly 5 comes out soon, and Sanzaru Games better make it. Don't get me wrong, I have absolutely nothing against Sucker Punch. In fact, I would like them to also make another Sly game, but for now, Sanzaru must conclude the story they're trying to tell, because Thieves in Time ended on the biggest cliffhanger ever, and if it doesn't get resolved, I will be severely disappointed. Please, Sanzaru Games, for the love of clockwork, stop making Sonic Boom games. Why did you even sign up for that funeral? Everyone knows they turned out to be failures. That was my countdown for a topic too lengthy to repeat. Seriously, just read the title please. I know I didn't include a lot of games that could have fitted in nicely with this list, but remember that you can always use the comment section to point out the games you think should have been on here. Maybe someone mentions good games I already have played but didn't know they could have qualified for the list. If so, I tell you where I would place them. I hope you enjoyed this countdown. It's my second countdown so far, and look out for other potential lists in the near future. I'm Arcadon, and hopefully you'll see me next time.